On this lesson, we're going to add the shadow and add a little bit of grain so we get a more realistic look. So we're going to go to our pen tool, and you can see the shadow that is the crane is casting. So I'm going to create that shape, and you could draw it with just your pen tool like that. And again, remember that you can use the direct selection tool in case you need something like that. I'm going to sample this gradient, but actually that's not the one that I want, and I want to have just one value that is 100% and the other one that is 0, and both of them are just a darker, not that dark actually, gray. Just go to your transparency window and change the color mode to color burn, and you can play with the opacity if you need to. Go to your gradient and try to match the color that you see on the reference, and move again the gradient to match what you are seeing. For example, here is going to 100% when it's close the crane, to 0 as it goes away from that. Now place it in the right position by selecting both of them and send them to back, just the shadow and the background. And now let's just select our background, our shadow, go to Effect, Blur, Gaussian Blur, and a window like this is going to appear. You can have a little preview and have a radius, in my case 4.5, and you can see how I get those soft edges just as on my reference. And I can play with the opacity and bring it down a little bit to maybe 80. I think that's fine. And you can see I'm missing a little piece of shadow right there on the left. And I can copy my appearance and see how I'm getting the same. I'm not getting the effect, but that's okay because this part is actually sharper. So again, it's very important, just as you did with the shapes, to understand how the shadow is getting cast, so you see where you need to have more opacity or a darker value, and with that you have almost the same thing. But if you go to your reference, and I'm just moving so you can see both of them, but if you go and see your reference, you can see how it has some grain. So we want to have something like that. We're going to create our rectangle tool, and you see how I created on the layer 1 accidentally. You can fill it with black color just so you see it. And what you can do is go to your layers, and you can see that little square, and just drop it on the layer 2, and that way you can change your object from one layer to the other easily. I'm gonna sample that blue color from the background, and I'm going to actually create a gradient. So just one gradient that goes from one blue, a lighter blue, to a darker blue. And it's going to be linear and just 0 as an angle, that's fine. I'm going to change the transparency, but actually first I'm going to apply an effect. So I'm going to go to Effect, and then go to Texture and Grain. And when you do that, a window like this is going to appear. Here you can play with the intensity and contrast to get different types of grain. I'm just going to round up my values and hit OK, and now you can see how I have this grain texture. You can go to transparency and play with the modes, but I'm going to go to overlay, and now you can see how immediately is giving that texture to my illustration. I can lower down the opacity to maybe something like 20, so it's subtle, but what I like about this type of texture is that it breaks the perfection that the vectors have. So you could go to Export, Save for Web, and save your crane and share it and see how it looks. And with this you have finished your piece of origami. So I hope you have enjoyed this course. Thank you very much for watching it, and see you next time.